very fun topics that's going to happen here. It's kind of about your grandma and all that, or whatever, whoever that lady is that I've been really hanging out with a lot. Okay. I think it's about time that I really start to, I don't want to say structure my head, but because I kind of, am unconsciously doing it, but start to really think about the philosophy of the stories, the mythology of it and all, and the deeper stories that are behind it that I'm honing in on. Because that's the most important thing is like, you tell a story, but why are you telling the story? So, for me, I couldn't tell you like when it really became a thought of like, oh, this should have meaning to it. I should be doing this on purpose. It was kind of just kind of looking at the journals. How do I word this? At least within the first year of its life, of the concept of this book. So I was always a little bit aware of that, but they were very, like in my mind, very phony in the beginning, and then they get real. Like you always want to prove like, the world's doomed and this is what I think, blah, blah, blah. But then you start to realize as the years go on that not only that no one gives a shit about those stupid little beliefs, but you start to hone in what really matters. Everyone wants to tell a story about, what's the word, what's that fucking shit that's happening? Global warming. You want to tell that story. You want to tell a story about inequality and all the easy shit and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it kind of comes across as phony. You know what I mean? Like those are small cares. The big cares are yourself and how you are acted upon in this world. And I think that's what I'm starting to realize as I'm, getting older. I no longer care about all the stupid little things that they want you to care about or the stupid things that you should. So I'm not really going to go through the history of the concepts and shit. I think just a good general overview of what is being set out to be done. And it wasn't really something that I thought about for some time. I like to make the philosophy whatever naturally happens along the way. And then later on, you kind of just, like that quote from Tolkien about, unconsciously you put it in there, but then it's like later on is when you consciously are putting, I think in his thing it would have been Catholicism and stuff like that. Like unconsciously I didn't mean to, but when I really got to the revision part, then I did. I think that it makes sense in that way in where I'm at in the unconscious part, because book one is written, but the entire world around it's still kind of in creation. I would say looking at it subconsciously and seeing some of the elements that are, how do I word that, like stuff that Kevin and Jacob say that they're noticing within it is what I'm gauging. And so for me, that's why it was really important to talk to them about the origins of the book, which I've got 2 little interviews out and of each of them. And Kevin's got cut kind of abruptly because things happen, but I think seeing it from their eyes like that has kind of been allowing me to notice what I've been saying, the things that I've been really honing in on, and what they are bringing to the table, what the philosophy could be, if that makes sense. So basically I'm trying to say it's at that stage now where I don't really know, I didn't really know, I should say, exactly what I was planning on doing philosophically. It wasn't until those guys that it started to come to light, and the idea of exploration of what exactly the creator is was one thing, because that's in my life, like what exactly is the creator, is one major element. The second one would be probably, how would I word this? Kind of like, what truly is the hero's journey? And how does it differ? And what's the most important thing when it comes to how someone sees the world? Because when I think about Eris, I modeled a lot of him after the younger version of me. Not a lot of action, not a lot of doing, but a lot of watching and gathering. And that's all I ever did. I was quietly gathering information, watching, and for the most part, sometimes feeling like I am not really in this world. It's kind of strange to say. It's like, school, work, wherever I was, whatever age I was, I didn't really feel like I was a part of anything. I felt like I was kind of like a ghost. I always felt like I was just watching everything happen around me. And that's something that I still do to this day. Whereas I just quietly watch people. Like if I'm in a room with like 3 people and they're talking, I don't really interject too much. If it's not like Kevin, Jacob, or my Kelly. If it's not them, I don't really say much. I listen, and I study, I learn, I gather information and stuff like that. And as I'm getting older, I'm not so quiet, but when I think about Eris, and I think about the younger me, it was kind of a balance between a fear to act, a fear to interact, or to, I don't know, it was something like those two. I'm just going to leave it at that. But the other half of it was like listening. Truly listening to what's happening. And noticing what people are saying. And really paying attention to what they say and exactly how they're saying it. Or like, there's like these small little hints of self in what people say and how they say it. And, like in a conversation, noticing when they really want to say something, but this person's talking and they can't. And you could see the timidness in it, or you can see them say something and they're a little bit afraid of what someone might think about that thing they're saying, or just noticing just the smallest little tiny glimpses in their eyes and stuff like that. Like, being quiet, being timid, and afraid to speak and act really made me hone in on really paying attention to exactly what people are trying to communicate in different aspects. And it could be a variety of situations, but generally it's all the same. It's like, what is this person trying to say? What is behind what they try to say? Because you think about life, you think there's a lot of things that happen to us that create the situation that we're in. You are what you do, and what happens to you, you are defined by that. But what makes the person seek definition? What makes the person kind of see, like through the experience of their life, up to that point, how can you see that happening in real time? So when I talk to somebody that I barely know, what about them, in that moment I'm talking to them, can I glean about something that led them to think of some sort of mindset that they should have? Or I guess I should say, like, as an example, which is hard for me to do examples, man. I'm so bad with metaphors and examples. I'm talking to someone about something at work, and I'm just listening to them, and I can hear the timidness in their voice as they're kind of talking about something that is from their life, like, oh, I want to go to school and do this. And so for me, immediately, it's like, well, you want to do something. Why do you want to do that thing? Because that's the most important reasoning, right? And that right there, there's a moment where grasping, well, where I'm trying to grasp, they're trying to figure out why they want to do that. Some people know exactly why. Some people have no fucking clue why they're doing what they do. Some people are only doing what they're told to do. And some people are doing what they think everyone doesn't want them to do. They're rebelling. And just seeking that situation out is how I feel like I'm able to determine the basis of like what kind of person this may be then. Who exactly are we talking about? But I think that kind of helps me determine what my character does in the book, what Eris does. When it comes to the parts where, and it's not a very long section where these two are together, but Nahum and Cypress. And you gotta keep in mind, Eris is like, what, 17, 16, I don't remember. He's young. These guys, like Nahum's about mid-20s, maybe early 30s, I don't remember. I got his birth time here, but I don't fucking, it doesn't really matter. Like, late 20s to early 30s. Cypress is in his 40s. So, to watch these guys that to him are older guys, and he's starting to, in that moment, and it's not so obvious, but it could be if you have this mindset, he's starting to really notice that, wow, they don't have it together. You know what I mean? That first realization you have when you're young, and you look at people that are older than you, you think they got it. You know, they're and all. They can figure things out. They know how the world works. They know whatever the fuck you think they know. You start to see Eris realize that they don't. That they're fumbling just like he is. But the one thing that they lack, the one thing that Eris lacks that they have is the ability to act. Now that's something that I've learned in my life slowly is like, and I still feel the same way as a kid. I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to feel about things sometimes. I don't know this. I don't know that. But what is the determining factor of my maturation, I guess, would be acting upon it regardless of it, and just finding a way through. Now in that finding a way through, this is something else that I've learned is there are certain people set for certain jobs. There are certain people that have abilities that can hinder or help the situation. So for me, and I noticed this a lot in the past few years, I have a very big skill when it comes to crisis kind of situations and being calm and trying to think of a way through and finding the structures that need to go into place to make the situation either go away or to, help in any regarding situation. It doesn't really matter. It's just whenever there's a crisis, whether it's not like a huge crisis, like we're talking about jobs shit, I was able to, whoops, we're gonna have to cancel that because this is for Kelly. Why? Geez, that was almost bad. Just like upload a video through Kelly's account. Yeah, that was the main thing for me. It was finding not only acting, but to find the skills that are needed inside of that acting. And that's all just based upon how you, I mean, I would say that it has to do a lot to do with confidence and stuff, but, and it does to some degree, but understanding your role. And the philosophy of someone's someone's mindset, someone's understanding, that's truly what matters in a situation. But there are roles that we all play, and I think finding those roles is definitely the most important thing, to take control of yourself. You know, we all have natural abilities. We just got to kind of step outside of our comfort zone to get those done. Or in my case, to not take shit so seriously. It's so easy to take charge and problem solve when I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's interesting that I noticed that, like at work or anything outside of my loved ones or my book, I don't give a fuck. So it's like, that really helps me realize, like, oh, that's why you're calm, because you don't care. You know, like, you don't give a fuck that millions of dollars could be lost right now. Like, that's why. Like, that's, I never really noticed that until recently, but yeah, of course. Like, why would I give a fuck with how much money they lose? I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna not try to do something because it's built in me to try, but I don't care either way. You know, like, I learned that about myself, and we are the world around us, and we are what we do. And so within that, we'll see Eris grow almost similarly. Whereas right now he's very timid and quiet. He doesn't really go through a rebellious stage so much, like I didn't really. I never really angrily rebelled against things. I quietly listened, and it only was until like maybe 2 years ago that I finally started saying, fuck this. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, that's when it took that long. 30 years old to finally say, well, I'm done with this fucking stupid shit. You know? 29, 30, I don't remember how old I was. And so that has really kind of shaped the way I imagine that Eris would. But that's just like small character stuff. And that'll grow in time. And I do have ideas of his growth, mature kind of growth, later on. And I'm kind of excited about that in book 2 and book 3. Like, you get to really see him mature. And see him, like, he starts to think differently and act differently, just like you do in real life. You know, you don't keep doing the same thing over and over again. You actually are, you know, acting on what exactly the situation will dictate half the time. But the bigger philosophies of the book would be the story of like Odysseus and Tanais, the story of the Forgotten King, the story of the Titans and all that stuff. That's where the true hardcore, I don't really have terminologies for things, but I would consider like the open philosophy, like the philosophy that's otherworldly and sometimes global philosophy. Whereas the story of Aristotle, that's like personal stuff. That's personal philosophy. That's just within your life philosophy. Whereas like the stuff outside of that, again, the Aeon, the Titans, you know, the story of Tanais and Odysseus and stuff like that, that is just philosophies that are meant for a wider, like, catch of people, like a span of people. And those ones truly involve the same kind of stories that you would see in mythologies, whether that be, you know, Greek or Native American or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Like, the philosophy of mythology is what those stories will open up into. Tanais and Odysseus, the story that is repeated. There's a constant repeating of this duality where these two siblings kind of mentally go at war with each other. And why that is, and why exactly that they disagree, whether it be one's following the rules and one's not following the rules, whether it's one questions life and one doesn't feel like questioning life. Like, there'll be different aspects to it, but you'll see a trend of this brotherly thing. These two brothers always disagreeing, always looking in opposite directions and stuff like that. That's something that's going to be a continuing thread throughout the whole book, which to me is camaraderie. It's a part of growth between two like men, basically. I mean, there's times where women are, in the situation, but the story really focuses around men, because there's not a lot of that these days, and that's really weird that's not. So I felt like it was a kind of something that I had to do. There's no hate of anybody in there. It's trying to help people that have been singled out for whatever reason. Now, the issues of these individuals, Tonias and Odysseus, vary greatly from one to the other, like the other brothers, or Cesperonus and Rhodesus and all that. Or, now I'm fucking on the spot, I can't remember all the other ones' names, but it's a common thread that plays into the major concept of duality. And duality is one of the most important things of life. Now, there's a blend, of course. You got one side and you got the other side, but there's definitely, it blends and it turns into kind of a gray area in the middle, of course. And it's a spectrum, but that doesn't take away the fact that there is a duality. The spectrum is just the middle. There's varying shades, there's, what do they call that in Dungeons and Dragons? Your character fucking trait, not traits, but their allegiance, like whether a neutral, true neutral, or chaotic evil, all that shit. That's kind of true to a fact, and that's kind of where you see, Dungeons and Dragons take that concept and kind of roll with it. Now, I think it's just harder to see that in life for a lot of people. Like, they can't really, they think they can grasp it, but they really can't. Like, they have an opinion about something, but I feel like I always have this insight that they're just not seeing it to take them above and beyond and realize, like, whoa, fuck, okay, like, we're all the same, or like, holy shit, it's not that big of a deal, or like, it's all bullshit, like, this is all made up, or whatever the outcome should be to their mindset. I always feel like they don't hit that level because they truly don't see that they're living a duality of even their own thoughts, an action and reaction kind of thing. I found that to be the biggest issue of, people in general, just not seeing the truth. And the truth is nothing to be of a veil of, like, there's Illuminati, that's what the truth is, or the New World Order, or like, the truth is that white people are blah blah blah, or black people are, it's like, it's beyond that. The truth is only just within you, kind of thing. And no one really sees that. They think the truth is within a culture, or within a group of people, or some sort of concept, or greed, or just major fucking ideas. And that, I don't think that's could possibly be real. The only truth is within. And what's within can be a collective consciousness of us all. But for the most part, you got to focus on your own individual consciousness. You don't walk into a room when you have a horrible sickness that is very contagious. You try not to. You make sure you're okay before you walk in the room and before you interact with people. I think the same thing with the truth inside of you. You have to make sure that is echoed correctly. And you believe in what you believe in. Not what you're told to believe in, not what this group believes in, or like what that group believes in, or like, I'm part of the fucking, I don't know, conservative youth group, or whatever the fuck it is. Like, I need to believe that this, because this is good stuff. Like, no, it's not. That's for someone else. Like, what do you believe in individually? The only issue with that is people can't see past their experiences within that truth. Like, finding truth within self, they usually determine it through their experiences. And generally, your experiences are outwardly. The way you perceive them is the internal part. You know, like things are happening around you, things are happening in the world outside of you, but the experience that you take and within is something that only you can think of. It's all about how you perceive, right? And that's just the basis of perception. Perception is how you view the world. That's what people lack, I think. And they don't realize it. You know, there's a whole world of people that think they got it, and I watch them and I'm like, you don't though. And you never will with that attitude. Not to say that I do, because I don't even think I come close, but I do know how to spot bullshit. It's not a thing I really say to anybody, though. I don't tell anybody of these things that I notice in them. I let them have it, because I don't want to ever come across as... I'm not trying to, like, be a savior. I'm not trying to be... or even just a lowly hypocrite. Like, I don't want to be those things, so I usually just kind of hang out, and I don't really say anything, and I hear something that I know could use improving, but, you know, like, I shouldn't be the one to have to improve people, so I let it be, and I just kind of allow them to find their own growth, because growth takes time, and man, you shouldn't seek change because it's quick. Change should be sought because it takes a long time. And that's the beauty of it. And that part is like, quietly the philosophy within the book is everything I was basically saying. Now the highest philosophy to me is the story of the Forgotten King. It is the story of fear of death. And that's the major arcing story with him. And along with the whisper and all that stuff, it's just, we are going to die, and it's okay to die. And it's not a we as in a collective people. This will be a we as in ourself. A royal we, if you will. That's the biggest concept of the whole book. Is the journey of life seems to be a fucking journey of staying alive. But to what end? You know, there's an eventuality. It's not like you're going to stay alive and you figured it out and it's like, oh wow, because I was healthy enough, because I was fucking smart enough, I was able to deter death. Like, that's an ignorant way to live, you know? You should sustain yourself for the betterment of whatever you're trying to achieve inside of life, but outside of it, why fight it? You know? I believe that there's a point that we all face, and I can't prove it, but I do believe there's a point where we can choose our own death. Varying degrees of it, you know, like, I mean, I guess you can kind of choose it if you get in a horrific accident or something like that. But I think when it comes to old age especially, just from what I hear, it sounds to me like you can truly choose when to let go. It is your choice. And I think it could happen at any age if unlocked. If unlocking that door, you can find a door. We can choose our own time. And we all generally kind of know, it seems like. Vaguely, you know. Some people know they're not going to make it to an old age. Some people feel like they will. Some people feel like they won't make it to an old age, but they do. Because they truly didn't listen to themselves. They just didn't want to live to old age. I think I will, I'll be honest, but we'll see. I think, like, the issues of life are so grand that for me in the book, it's really hard to just hone in on, like, I got 4 or 5 topics, 4 or 5 philosophies that I want to explore. These are ideas that I want to talk about. Like, I thought it was that easy, but it really isn't. It's a case of just exploring what my life is. what I've gathered, what I've noticed, what I've felt, what I've seen from other people, and having empathy, having that over sympathy, having sympathy obviously as well, that's a lesser degree, but to have empathy really helps you create a world, because you are allowing yourself to unbiasedly go into someone else's, life and to see it through them. So when you bring that kind of skill to a book, you're able to make a world full of people that clearly don't think the same, because you're allowing your ability within the real world to enter this world. And so the characters feel believable because they seem to take on a life of their own. And I could go into fucking detail about how that feels, but at the end of the day, I don't really understand how it works. How you can write these people that are made up and just explore, and just they start to take on a life of their own, and you feel like you're not even in control. Whether that's within you already or you channeling something, it's hard to say. But the thing for me, when it comes to the philosophy of the stories, it would have to be just the simplicity of it all. And I mean, life is as simple as you make it, and the truth of life, I think, is the most simplest thing. It's just we make it so difficult. And as I'm going on in age, I'm noticing, if I were to think of the philosophy of the book, I don't try anymore. I notice it happening and I'll comment on it and I'll say like, wow, the philosophy seems to be about this, this, and that. But it's not a conscious effort where like I'm sitting down with Jacob or Kevin and saying like, okay guys, like what are we trying to say here? In the moment I'll do that, I should say, with characters. But when it talks about the higher, like why are we writing this kind of stuff? What shall our philosophy be to teach people? Like, we don't go about it that way. We point things out and we'll talk about it and say like, what exactly is this? Like, is that what we're saying? Interesting. I wonder why. But other than that, it's not a huge conscious effort. It's just partially conscious. Just like your mom is. But I think that's the main proponent of everything that we do. And just realizing that you don't have to be impressive. You don't have to talk to people. Well, I mean, let people read the book, honestly, or watch these fucking videos. It's not about impressing people, and that's the hardest part to like get over. But once you do, you're the most honest. You know, I remember when I first started doing these little fucking videos, it was hard because I wanted to make sure I didn't say anything wrong. I didn't want to be offensive, or I didn't want to I wanted to be impressive. I needed to have cool formats and fucking, it's got to be really like good thumbnails, and it has to have these amazing qualities, transition spots, and I need to have animation, and I realized like, fuck all that. Like, it's so phony. Like, it's just like, you didn't make those things. You didn't make the animation. You didn't make like the structure of your little videos or whatever they're about. Like, I just kind of started realizing that it's just getting to be synthetic and phony. That whole the way things are now, that and like AI art and those stupid little videos we'll make, like it's just phoniness. Our whole society's becoming like there is no society. It's really weird. It's like nothing matters, and you can truly see it. Because people have censored so much, and people have been so afraid of anything that's scary that people don't even think about things anymore. You're just a consumer, and you're to buy things, and you're to like this, and you're to like that. And that's all you need to do. Go to your little fucking job, make the money to give to other people, make sure you buy the house, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. You have to do all these fucking things to jump through these hoops. And like, oh, we'll have internets available, and then you could find groups of people that tell you what you should believe, what should be good, what should be bad. Don't worry, they're like the authority on the subject. And it's just, it's so fucking stupid. Like, for me, it was a moment of seeing through the fucking phoniness of everything. And just seeing all that stuff. Of like how people just want to be accepted, and how people want to be authoritarian or be bullies. I'm mind blown about it. It's crazy to me, I guess, is what I mean. It's like, people try so hard to be part of a group, even if that group is wrong. I mean, you saw it in school. You'd see it all the time with, like, the one kid trying to impress the kids that he shouldn't be, or she shouldn't be trying to impress in the first fucking place. Because those kids are idiots. You know? Or they're bullies, or they're phony, they're shallow, or they do stupid things. Like, what's to impress? I think that is something to be noticed. Of like, why would you seek to belong? Because people are so afraid to be alone. I mean, in reality, it's much better to be alone and true than it is to be in a fucking group of people and feel like a liar. Feel false. Feel like you're pretending to be something you're not. Why would you want to live your life that way? And that's a big kind of concept to go from the format of YouTube videos, but I try to take it and approach it to all aspects of life. And I want that to be kind of a somewhat conscious element of the writing, or of these fucking videos, or of whatever the hell else I'll do, to show that it doesn't matter. It really doesn't fucking matter. Like, who's looking at you, how many people are looking at you, what they truly think. That doesn't really matter. What matters is what kind of people you are attracting that believe in what you believe too. And in turn, you can kind of help them, you know, flourish in their own way of what they believe. You know, we seek to help each other. And I figured, you know, going back to the video things, that is why I try to be as honest as I can. So you see, there's no fluff, I'm not trying to be somebody, I'm not trying to censor myself, or I'm not trying to say things that are politically correct, or do things that are trying to get, like, whoring out for attention, you know, make it flashy videos, colors, make sure it's really loud and good, quiet, and good cuts, so it's like really abrupt, so, and the videos are like 10 minutes long, and stupid shit like that. Like, I'm trying to avoid that because I don't want the wrong people. You invite the right people to find you in time. Someone who's willing to take a plunge on a video that has a thumbnail of me doing some stupid face. That's not an accident, you know what I mean? Like, the thumbnails are either me just like, or doing stupid things, because I'm like, if someone's willing to go through that and say, what the fuck? This video is titled Concept of God, and you see this weird fucking dude, and you're like, what is that? And then if you can get through fucking 50 minutes of that, like, maybe there's something there. And that's the whole point of it. It's on purpose. It's not an accident. That philosophy idea carries into the book too. You know, like, I tried to make it really flashy. I tried to, like, oh, it's got to be like really fucking intense or something. It has to be this, has to be that. But then I realized, like, it's not me though now. Now it's me trying to be a whore and like, come on, read it, buy my thing. Like, that's so stupid. That's a dumb way to be. And so I just said, fuck that. And I was able to actually just be myself, just write like I want to write. Tell the story the way I think it needs to be told. That's honestly the main truth of the entire thing that I'm doing, is a self-honesty. Be honest with what you have, and be honest with who you are. Be honest with all that stuff. That's it. No more. There's really no much more than that. Within that, you can find the philosophies of life, because it's in an honest measure. You know, I'm creating this world. I'm creating this concept, this mythology, and I'm being as honest as I can, looking at life, learning from other people's art and real historical events, and just being honest about how I feel about that. And through that, I think real philosophy is just a key to a door. It's not about, like, yes, the elements of philosophy within, like, how a person acts, and or how, you know, we feel about death, or whatever the other philosophies might be. You can actively start thinking about them when you're writing. You can kind of go through it and kind of explore those ideas. But the true philosophy, I think, is being the key. And the key is within honesty and within searching for a truth through yourself. You do that, the real philosophy will come. Because people will start to critique what you do. And then they'll start to see these things here. You're like, oh wow, were you fucking saying something about the Catholic Church when you're talking about the chantry and this and that and the corruption within it? Like, were you thinking about this and that when it comes to what a human should be? What is society? What is class system? What is, like? And I'll be like, not really, no. But if you find it, explore it and take that with you. The one thing that I know that I kind of have to be is a storyteller. And even though I don't necessarily see myself as something like that, I do know that the role of the storyteller is to tell the story, to teach the people, to help them, to aid them, to open up their mind to something, to give them warnings of something that they're doing. You know, don't go out in the woods at night kind of thing, or give them the confidence to do what they need to do, or help them see that the system that they're within is predatory, or whatever it is. Like, that's your job. And I've slowly kind of come to terms with that. What the idea of a storyteller is. And honestly, that's where the idea of this video talking about philosophy. Because what truly is that anyway? What is philosophy? What's the actual... Okay, I'll look up the actual definition so we have that as a basis. The study of the nature, causes, principles of reality, knowledge, values, based on logical reasoning. Nature, causes, principles of reality, knowledge, or values. It's like a catch-all term for just like how to just think, how to use your mind, how to be a human. What are the roads? What are the rules? What are the pitfalls and what are the rises? What works and what doesn't work? I mean, maybe that's why honesty is the key. And now that makes sense, that saying, God damn it. I never noticed that before. Huh. I'll title the video that. I'll just say that. Okay, that's it. Tell your grandma I said hi again.